Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Give My Head podcast. I'm Tim McGarry and my comedy colleagues are...
Michael McDowell.
Damon Quinn.
You're all very, very welcome. If you haven't been before, you're very welcome. Come on in. We're having a bit of crack. You can find all the previous episodes. We've done about 17, 18. I've lost count now, to be honest with you. But we are talking basically about comedy and life in Northern Ireland. And before we start, can I say a massive thank you to our wonderful sponsors, Drip, the Drip Cafe on the Ormo Road. Delicious cups of coffee, lovely Drip mugs. You actually get sweatshirts and stuff from Drip as well.
Well, Mike is wearing the hoodie.
The hoodie, you can get the hoodies and all.
You're too old for a hoodie.
I'm too old for a hoodie.
If you go to Drip, I would recommend their cinnamon buns. They have all sorts of food. If you go to Drip and you say, "Give my head some peace," they will give you 20% off. 20% off your food. And I can tell you that Conor Grimes is a culchie and he's immediately going, 20% off. Yeah, I like the sound of that now.
That's good. 20%'s acceptable.
20% is acceptable. You will take 20% off, would you?
Absolutely. It's the VAT, isn't it?
That's right, it's that way, yeah.
Yes, they'll give you 20% off if you go to Drip and just say, "Give my head some peace." One last plug. Give My Head Peace Live is on tour next year. We're all over the place. The live show, if you haven't been before, where have you been? The live show features everybody, including Pastor Begbie and Billy the Peeler and Sandy the Barman, Dipna Ma, Cal and myself, and very funny every year. We're all over the place, ending up in the Opera House at the end of March.
Don't know, lads are still funny.
Yeah, lads. Speaking of our lads who are very, very funny, our special guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is a friend of the Hole in the Wall gang, a friend of Give My Head Peace. He's one half of Grimes and McKee. We couldn't afford Mr. McKee. He's very, very expensive, but we have
him working, squirreling away working.
Is he working?
At the minute, yes.
Well, you've got the Protestant working then, have you? Is that the way it works?
He's got a great Protestant work ethic.
Grimes and McKee, I can never get round you being a comedy act because Grimes and McKee always sound to me like a couple of body snatchers. Or, it's like something, you know what I mean? Or serial killers, Grimes and McKee,
it is.
Leopold and Loeb, Grimes and McKee,
Victorian England.
Yes.
Or solicitors firm.
Yeah.
I was doing a corporate gig in Armagh last Friday, and I met a very, very nice woman, and we were talking about comedy and Give My Head Peace, and she said, "Do you know who I love? I love Grimes and McKee." And I thought they were brilliant. I'd go to every single one of their shows, and she said that New Ireland show, they were brilliant. I glazed over after a while. I just stopped listening. But she was saying, and I haven't seen the New Ireland show, but I hear it's flying and going very, very well. Have you stopped doing it, or what's the...
Ironically, we hadn't done it for ages, but we did 2 gigs this weekend. I don't know if you've ever been to the St. Patrick's Centre in Downpatrick.
Yes.
It's lethal.
Yeah.
It is. It's a bit weird, like, but...
It is a bit strange. The
when you're walking...
Excellent.
the changing rooms, you're in the museum. So you're sitting beside St. Patrick and St. Bridget and these ones gathering spuds and all this sort of stuff. It is a bit weird. And then I was sitting there by myself for ages, and it starts getting a bit spooky. And the Vikings and all the rest. But we did our show there. They had called us and asked us would we come down and do it, and we did it. So apart from that, we it just went back up onto the shelf. Right. But I think the secret of the success of a show like that is you're sort of really forced to use your imagination, thinking about the future. So we're thinking, whatever 2030 something we just vaguely say is where it's set. So there are various things have happened. We've made a decision as writers.
Yeah.
So we decided that it is New Ireland. Right. The Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland have had a referendum, and they have voted yes to become New Ireland.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so we knew that there was no comedy and it's staying the same. Because there wouldn't be enough anger.
And is New Ireland lovely? Should we go?
It's just lethal. And one of the things is like some of the Southerners have really taken to the orange culture.
All right.
Do you know they just love it? It's just so
all the marching and all.
The marching and
big
the
bonfires and O'Connell Street.
They don't understand the problem. There's that sort of thing, the little using our imagination to try and sort of rethink things. So things like that, the Southerners actually prefer the Northern Prods than they do the Catholics.
Yeah.
And that's a typical thing. I remember one time being over in West Belfast one night with a fella from the Ardoyne. And we were in this sort of bar, and he was really, really jumpy. And I was going, "What is your problem? I'm from out of town here."
Yeah.
you know, and all these Westies. I said, I'm the one that should be worried. And he goes, no, he says, you're not on their radar. He says, I am. And, you know, because he's a Belfast one from the other. And I couldn't believe it, but it's kind of that same sort of thing, so that we've have it that the Southerners, or not, but some of them, have a real identity with the Northern Protestants. There's things that you don't expect. And also that the Northerners have a tighter bond. They become more one.
Right.
You know, because there is that north-south divide then, and then it blends into then, so that it's not just so much Catholic prods, it's Nordies.
Aye. Yeah. Well, we did shoot each other for a long time, but there is a bit of that kind of, we're not the South and we're not Britain really, we're a bit different, you know, and anybody criticizes, you go, oh, what do you know about it?
Exactly. Yeah. There's a little bit of that pride.
What else are you envisaging in this future world of 2030? I mean, is Give Me Headpod still the most popular?
Oh, it's absolutely.
Comedy show, like?
Yes, it is.
Are we still in the upper house?
Oh, you
every year.
No, don't kill me. Still
2030.
Well, there were a lot of attempts to put yours out, but you keep coming back.
They're not still funny.
Grimes and McKee, then the culture ministers, are they?
Oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought of that. Wouldn't want that.
You are from out of town. You're a culture. Doneckmore, isn't it?
Doneckmore, yeah.
Doneckmore, which I've been in a couple of times. Nice wee spot.
It's a lovely wee spot, and we're very, very proud of it. And Doneckmore has one of those things. There's a little stream runs through it called the Torrent, and everything's called the Torrent. I live in Torrent View. Right. It's beside Torrent Close and Torrance Avenue and the Torrent Centre and the Torrent Pharmacy and the Torrent Budget. And it was just a wee trickly stream. And then people, you know, it's really shameful. Some people come, well, I got to come and see the Torrent.
There's it there. You've walked over.
Ironically named. But they say that because there's a sort of like list, Malachi Cush and Karen Kirby and, you know, Claire McChrystal in music. There's a whole sort of, you know, there's new upcoming ones. A guy, James Murphy, who's from Doneckmore, who's in the Ferryman and the Gaiety. Yeah, and there's this element of that. Right. And people always said, is it coming through the river? Well, of course it wasn't. It was because the Bardic Theatre was set up, which was by a guy called Sean Floon, who's one of my old mentors. And he set up, and you've come across Sean. He set up the Bardic, but with real chutzpah and gusto and these big shows that were really carbon copies of West End shows is what they were sort of doing. Mm-hmm. So they would put loads of bums on seats. They'd do really, really
Apart
good.
from the time I was there.
Well,
I did a stand-up show there ages ago, long time ago. I went very well in there, but it wasn't exactly queuing out the door.
Well, that's the thing. They're only interested in the sort of locals.
Right.
It's a kind of thing, and it has got this. They've got a very good production values, and they do good shows, and you have a good night, and there's a good big cast, you know.
Yeah.
But that's where we got started, and that's where all of them, and that's the river that was flowing through it, that has give opportunities to people to go into.
I think I said to you before, though, that I reckon I am really from Tyrone.
Yes.
Because I'm a Quinn. And the Quins all came from Tyrone. Don't I mean it's the most common name, isn't it?
It is a very common.
Yeah. So I think I'm really a culture.
You Sean Quinn? You're in relation to Sean?
No, that's for
Unfortunately not.
Where we live.
Otherwise I could tell you with a money's head.
And where we live is Doneckmore.
For reasons of libel, Mr. Quinn is only joking.
That was a joke, Sean. Okay, a joke.
They call the Quins where we live the Queens. It's just a sort of idiosyncratic idiom or whatever, or rather pronunciation. And so, like for example, there was a woman who lived outside our village called Mary Quinn, and she lived in a townland called Foy. But she was described and talked of, that's Mary Queen of Foy. Right. So we wouldn't even think about that. We'd know who that is. That's Mary Queen of Foy. Mary Queen of Foy. But so when I was telling some of my relations and in-laws and so on and all the rest, we were going, well, how's she? Is that the King of Tory type thing? And I was going, no, she's Mary Queen of Foy.
Oh,
Mary Queen.
How do you know?
And they were, what? I was going, quit. Oh, fuck, we call bleep, we call Queens Queens.
Yeah.
Them was Queens. That's what I'm talking. Look, a Queen's coming down the road there. And there'd be 2 builders, you know.
So if I'm really a Queen then.
You are.
Queen.
You are.
There's a very good comedian called Terry McHugh who does support for me, and Terry's from North Belfast, but he lives in Tatty Ray outside Oma.
Oh, yeah.
He's married a Tyrone woman and has 3 children. He said he's from North Belfast, and quite North Belfast, but he said he's raised 3 culchies and he's very unhappy.
Well, that is very culty in there.
Tatty Ray.
Tatty Ray.
Ray.
Where we live, some of the older ones pronounce that as Tatchy Ray.
All right.
And that'll be again in that sort of country accent.
Yeah.
There's plenty of Queens up in Touchy, eh? Hey? And you go, put Touchy, it's Tatty. But they pronounce it their own way and they don't care.
I have to say, though, I do think, the culture is a very derogatory term.
It is.
Is it?
I think blue busser is a far better term.
Oh, blue busser doesn't sound right. It does not sound right.
That's what we used to say. Oh, they're blue busser.
Oh, they're blue bussers. Yeah. Well, I know. We are indeed.
How did you end up with McKee then, who's a suave city slicker, isn't he?
No, he's Coleraine.
Is he Coleraine?
Coleraine, Sean.
Yeah, he's a Coleraine.
He was
Sophisticated. He's from Coleraine.
He's the big smoker Coleraine, is he?
He was at that big posh school up in Coleraine. Is
that right?
Where all the culty rich boarders went to. Inst. Yeah. And then he came down to Belfast and went to Queen's and so on, and then he's lived in Belfast ever since, married a Belfast girl.
Right.
We met at Queen's Drama Society type neck of the woods.
And you're not far from our generation. Where
1968, I was born, the year of the Troubles.
Oh, right.
He's a youngster.
Yeah, you're a youngster. Yeah, we're
You're a bit more seasoned.
Absolutely.
And richer.
And people would go, how do I know Conor Grimes? Obviously, you played the Christian brother who taught me Irish and Give Me Headpod last year. They would know, of course, Troubles According to My Dad. Mm-hmm. Fireball, which was one of those parts that years and years on, people still go, by the way, you owe me a lot of money for that show.
What?
For years, everybody stopped me in the street and going, I'm going to see your show. I go, what show? I'm going to see your show, the show you're in. What? The Troubles According to Da? And I go, no, that's not me.
What, it could be?
No, it was
and then also because you've
Martin
got
Lynch exploited my name, I should get a cut of the profits of the Troubles According to
And
Da.
you're tall and you have a white beard.
Yes.
And so is Ivan Little.
Yeah, exactly.
So that means you're the same person.
Yeah.
But people always say, Big Ivan Martin was good in your show. Because he's called Ivan. And he's got a beard. Because it's just merging everybody into one.
It's a hugely successful show, though.
That was a hugely successful show. It just sort of hit a button. And there was a combination of reasons for that. And sometimes you don't know how. I remember the writing process was literally electrifying, and I don't mean in a good way. It was fighting match, and
Right.
we'll all admit that. There was a lot of war. And then
Martin Lynch had the idea, was it? Or what, did you have the idea, or you go to Martin?
No, Martin had Martin had the idea. And Martin's great at stealing titles. He's like a magpie. Because, the history of the world according to Garp is where he got that title from. The history of the Troubles according to Da. What a great title. And it was this, the Da. He was talking about his own Da. Essentially, the anecdotes of growing up in West Belfast, a man who did not want anything to do with the Troubles and really had no politics whatsoever and was just trying to, what is all this about? And how the Troubles then just comes in and it ruins it for everybody. You can't avoid it. Bit like being trying to go shopping in Sarajevo or something. It's just you can't avoid the snipers and so on. So that was the idea. He came to us and says, I'm not sure if we could work together in in collaboration.
That's a very good impression.
I bet Jared McKee yesterday, he does a brilliant Martin Lynch impression. We're not thinking him on to do his Martin Lynch impression. Don't get Martin on the show, we'll get Martin on. Do that again.
No, he's silly. Martin's got some great stories. He's somebody you should get on with. He's
got some great. I mean, he told me once is one of his dad's catchphrases, and it's a brilliant catchphrase. It really is. Like, it was just.
Are you going to tell us?
The words run. It was the words run by a parcel of cunts.
Right. Okay.
That's sad.
He put that in the play, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
A parcel.
A parcel.
I love that. A parcel.
Yeah.
What is a parcel?
A parcel's a wing, an Ulster Scots.
A wing.
But I think you turn the news on now. Like, I mean, the man had a point.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. So how was it? So the writing process was.
So we went around. He managed to.
You and and Alan got writing credits on it, did you? Or what?
Oh yeah, no, it's three-way.
Right.
Three-way, because what happened was we were doing our stuff. He came to us and he says, listen, I'd like to collaborate. And he says, I've this idea of a show, but what we'll do is we'll go to Rathlin Island and write a small half-hour show called The History of Rathlin Island and see how we get on. There was some grant floating about. Rathlin grant. Very specific. I remember we wrote this stuff and we were slagging them off like mad and all the rest of it. We were rehearsing it on Rathlin Island. He goes, they're going to lynch us. This is not funny. It's really, really, really slaggy. And then we were like, get the boat started. So, like, you know, at the back of the theatre where we were in, so we could hop off and get on it. But of course, that wasn't the case. And we got on, we actually got on well. And then we sat down to write it. That's when the sparks flew. We couldn't get cast in it.
Right.
And we could, for whatever reason, there was nobody available, all the usual suspects. And then somebody...
I don't remember getting a call, did you?
No.
You weren't available. You just weren't available. You weren't available. Definitely not. Nobody was available. That's why, and I don't mean in any way, but it's... So somebody had mentioned Ivan. Mm-hmm. And Ivan had done... what do you call it? A View from a Bridge or something?
Ivan had done a lot of acting.
He won All Ireland champion best actor, and you know those sort of faces or whatever, or no, not a face.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That competition
Yeah.
was stiff enough, and he was an All Ireland champ.
Yeah.
So he came in and he did it, and everything was unlikely. And the guy Carl Wallace directed it, and he again we couldn't get any directors. It was one of those, you know, when nothing's going right, and you're in a rehearsal room and nothing's going right, and it's all just hell. And there was like tables being chucked over and stuff and all the rest. And at one stage I was just standing going, "What the actual is going on here?" And then we just went out on the first night and did it, and it was in the Waring Street Bank, that old bank down in there. What was it?
yeah.
It was turned into a sort of theatre. There was 100 seats, and the guy from the Opera House came on the last night, and he says, "I'm going to put this into the Opera House," and I says, "I don't know, like, you know, it's all right with 100 seats there," and he goes, "There's 100 people laughing at the exact same time, every single time these things happen." He says, "It'll be the same. It'll be 1,000 people." And so we went into that.
And when did it start?
That was 2004, I think.
Right.
Well,
Great
I'm
race.
really jealous of that show. I mean, because you can bring that show back anytime you want, whereas we have to write a new show every year.
Yes.
A brand new show every year. We can't do last year's show like next year. I mean,
Most of our other shows are like that. We can't do them again.
I know.
You constantly have to.
Because it revived, didn't it?
It revived, yeah. And in fact, it revived again with Marty.
Yeah.
But, because, again, it just was one of those things. We hadn't done it in 10 years. We hadn't just set it aside and just forget about it. And then it was still, people were clamouring for it. And
you were the big
clamouring is
hit.
really-
You were Fireball. You were the big hit.
Fireball was
Just
that
for doing a lisp.
unlikely character.
Comedy's hard, but you do a funny past your bag.
Exactly. Funny voice.
A funny voice.
A funny voice is right. And that voice was just...
Do a bit of Fireball for us, for those who can't remember.
But where I got the voice,
Yeah.
I suppose I could tell you that. One time, me and McKee did a corporate gig for these not builders, but engineering firm in Tyrone, and they were real rough and ready voices. It was so funny, loads of dough. Like.
Paid in cash.
Hey, quite high. Cash just pulled out of boots like minted but rough and class crack. And one of them, we were in Enniskillen or whatever, sitting, and one of them was telling us a yarn about, and you'll never believe what happened last night. This mate of mine, he's a looper, and I can't even say his name. I'll give him a different name, John. But he told this story about how he had called round to his house the evening before and shouted out, "Come on, we're going for a spin." And I'm going, "Well, you know, get me dinner. Fuck up." And I'm going for a spin at the end of the car. And he had 2 bottles of Chablis opened in the car. Chablis, like, oh, that's not really. And then he dropped him off, and then he crashed the car. And then he climbed up a tree, and the police came, and they says, "Right, John, come on, down the tree. I'm not getting down to this tree. Jesus going to beat me." And they're going, he's a well-known person. Like, he's going, "Just get down to the tea." "No, I'm not." And he told this story. There was lots of F's and blinds in it and all the rest. And it was very funny. And I dined out in that story about this guy who got stuck up with tea and the talk stuck out there and all this stuff. It was loaded, but it's an unexpected character. And so when we were rehearsing, Lynch says the original Fireball was based on this guy that he met on the Falls Road in the black taxis. And they built a swimming pool all the windies. They would go for all the peeping toms off the Falls Road.
That's right.
Where did that get past? Anyway, he's sitting in the taxi. Lynn says you'd only ever see him in the taxi, and he had this big ginger hair, big spiky ginger hair, and he'd sit criticising everything. And they drove past, and he goes, "Oh, that stupid boss. He leaves the boss in the Falls Road. Stupid." And the whole taxi's on, he goes, "I tell you what, to be better off spending money on, lads. Big fucking giant darts club. Everybody can go and throw like a dart and go fucking swimming." And we were laughing at this. That was his story. And I did it. I goes, "I can't keep that voice on." You can't project or anything with it. Yeah. And Carl Wallace, who was directing, says, "I just can't think of a different voice then. Bloody hell." You know, everything was going crazy. And then McKee just says to me, "What about you're way up the tree?" And that was then I started reading it, that got there, and everybody just went, "Oh." And he goes, "Can you project?" "Of course I can with that, aye." That's all you're doing. And that was where the voice came from. Yeah. And again, it was last minute, real last. Yeah. You know, it should have like been your bag of tricks. Yeah. You don't even know you have a bag of tricks. You know. Yeah. But it's just like a story you've told, or somebody goes, "That story, that voice you used."
Yeah, we did. Pastor Begbie became Pastor Begbie literally because he did 2 lines with that silly voice, and we went, "There's something in that." Oh. He literally had 2-line part, and he go, "That's a mean loyalist character with a lisp." There's something about it. You know,
there's something about his voice.
Yeah.
That's how Pastor Begbie was born.
But that was mad. And Fireball, do you still get stopped and people go do Fireball?
I swore in my life, walking here today.
Yeah.
A man stopped me and he says, "You Grimes and McKee?" And I went, "Yes." And he goes, "Are you doing the History of Trolls again?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he literally was standing walking his dog, and I knew he wanted to say, "Do Fireball."
Well, if he's listening, do Fireball for him. Do Fireball for them.
I don't know. We'll never say never, Mr. Dog Walker. But at the minute, there's no plans, so settle down.
Yeah, you're too busy, aren't you? Some Mungos is flying as well, isn't it? Some Mungos.
Mungos, yes, we're developing. We're in development.
This is the GA. This is the GA club one.
This was the GA club again. Fictional.
And did Alan McKee help much out of the research of this?
Well, no, this is everybody says.
He's a bit of a rugger man, isn't he?
He's rugby. Yeah. His nephew plays for Leinster now. John McKee, brilliant player, and they're another rugby mad. In fact, he has a personality change watching rugby.
So yeah, all right, is he? Yeah.
Because he's like, you know, why rugby's sore to watch it. You know?
It is, yeah.
It's even to watch. You know, like, oh my God. But imagine the rugby guys watching it then. They really get into it. Like it's incredible. But no, I think there's shared with the GAA club. I mean, yes, I was involved on a committee at one stage, right. a subcommittee to be honest, with regards to some fundraising. Mm-hmm. And even that allowed me access into the hallowed room of the committee room. Well, it's a secret society. You know, it's where
the politics of the GAA.
Yeah, and they're at the sort of lowest. If you take like a club like Mungo's, the bottom of Division 4 in some county, you know, that's the lowest, and there's no motivation there. They're beginning to actually sort of like disappear, of bit by bit. Bigger clubs will swallow them up if there's a smaller club in the vicinity, right? And so Mungo's were in danger of that. But I got that story from my cousin's husband, who's from Armagh, and he was a great soccer player. He played for Dungannon Swifts and so on, and he played Gaelic for this club called, what's it? Maybe you shouldn't even mention it, but it's outside Portadown. Tiny club.
It's outside Portadown. Nobody will be able to identify
Division 4. But he came in. We heard he did a transfer to one of the big Armagh clubs, you know, the city clubs, Armagh Harps or something like that. And he came into our pub one night on a Sunday evening. He swanned in. Beige, we call him. It's always versus beige. He's a bit of a dude, like, and he swanned in. "All right, lads." Everybody's looking at him, like, you know. He goes, "Oh, it's only an Armagh, man. Would switch clubs." It's like, It's like,
You don't do that.
no, it's not allowed,
Oh,
and
no,
you
no.
have to put in. You
Oh, no,
play
no,
for your
actually.
club. So hence David Clifford, the greatest player in Ireland, plays for Fossa, a Division 3 club in Kerry. It's his club. So I know you're glazing over.
I am. What?
But he came in and we slagged him off, and he said to us, we slagged him off about changing to the big club and all the rest. And he says, "It was I could have been a contender speech." He says, you know how good I was at football. I am at football. Playing for Swifts, getting trials for Liverpool when I was young and all this, that and the other, and having to play for that Gaelic team, he says, and never once getting a chance to play for Armagh because of it. Because where they were.
And a shit team.
They're terrible. He says, I'll put it into perspective. He says, we had a half-time talk, he says, last week, and the manager basically just went, right, lads, I'll see you out there after and walk out. And I says, why? And he goes, we didn't have a win in 6.5 years. So can you imagine the half-time talks? It's all gone. Everything's just gone. It's just like death. And he said that 6.5 years. And he says, you're complaining, you're slagging me off about moving clubs. I'm not sure if that club still exists. And that was where the idea of how bad a club could be.
Right.
That's where Mungo's idea came from.
And you toured all the GAA clubs and they all loved it.
Well, that was it. We opened up a sort of little mini market of the GAA clubs where they all have halls and they can sort of convert them into theatres, or they'll have a local theatre, yourselves, the things that are on and in the wilds. But we got to go to some of the most amazing places, country places, and lovely, lovely places. And, they're really good old crack. And McKee, of course, every time he got special treatment.
The
Protestant
got-
He got extra cinnamon scones and stuff. Are you all right, Alan? Is Alan all right there? Does Alan need anything? What about me? Overcompensate.
Bring Michael next time.
Is Michael all right?
Is Michael all right?
And obviously the taxman won't be watching this, but the GA club tend to pay in cash again.
No.
No, all
no.
VAT receipted. And I'm just checking for the
Yes, unfortunately they are.
David Hull once told me, our agent said that GA clubs, they're hard to get money out of. He said you do a gig and you agreed 500 quid, and he said that the chairman would come out with a wad of notes. I'd hand you 10 quid and go, disappointed with the crowd tonight. Bar didn't do very well tonight. Thought there'd be more in, to be honest with you. But by the time you get your 100 quid, you go, for fuck's sake, I'll take 100 quid.
Exactly. Oh, that is very, very true.
That's true.
I did once do a case, remain nameless, and it was a guy soon at GAA club, and there was a broken glass on the table, and he really hurt his hand, and it was really bad. It was like a really bad injury, like for thousands of pounds, and the GAA were going, no, I can't pay that. And he came and he said, that's a really bad injury. And he says, I know, I feel really bad about taking the GAA to court. He lost 2 fingers.
And the GAA have no money, sure.
That's the thing,
The GAA, they couldn't afford to build Casement Park.
I know.
200 million quid, we'll contribute £5.40.
Oh, the money's a mystery in the GAA. It really is. But it's a great place to mine humour,
Yeah.
because it's just that it's like a mini society, So you're writing about those characters that, especially in the country, I'm sure it's the same in the
Do they
city.
take a laugh to the mind? Can they laugh at themselves?
Well, what happens is, you'll go to one place and you go, this is, this crowd's rough and they're tough or whatever it is about them, and they roar with laughter, and we're doing these characters right in their face, and afterwards you'll be standing and talking to the chairman or the vice chairman or whatever, and you go, well, what do you think? And he goes, hey, well, you nailed them idiots up the road 100%. It's always the idiots up the road.
We once did a show in the West Belfast Festival, and we were doing a Sinn Féin sketch. We were a Sinn Féin meeting, and a lot of Sinn Féin were there. Terry Adams was there, a few others, and we were doing all these different characters, and they were pointing at each other, going, "That's you." Nobody was going, "That's me." It's definitely you.
You can never see yourself. And it is true about comedy. That's true. And imagine you're doing that, and imagine that just all of a sudden that they're not laughing.
Yeah.
When the mood changes. It's like driving a Scania too fast with a big trailer in the back.
You've never had that, have you?
Oh,
You've never had a bad gig,
okay, definitely.
have you?
Well, it's mostly, you know when you're doing corporate sort of big
corporate
crowds.
stuff can be hard, yeah.
Goodness, and the crowd aren't listening and they don't care and they're drinking and they're talking.
Yeah.
And you just go, I give up, you're...
Yeah, oh no, I've had that.
Yeah.
We had a
many times
Christmas
you do
dinner.
that?
We had to walk out. Didn't we walk out of a Christmas dinner?
give up.
There's no point. Nobody was listening. Yeah,
Yeah.
Christmas is the worst time for that.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
it is. Christmas is horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. But it's tough for comedians, but that's a corporate time as well, and it's people drinking too much and all that. Yeah.
They're socialising. Why do they insist
but
upon
why
getting...
they want to get off with each other.
Yeah.
Get drunk and get off with each other.
Exactly, so that's a totally different vibe.
Well, I think the problem with Christmas is you get amateur drinkers.
Yeah.
People who don't drink.
The once a year drinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because like when I was a lawyer, we ended up in the magistrates' court a few days before Christmas. It was just absolute mayhem. It's Christmas parties, people fighting and getting into all sorts of trouble.
Do you know that wee section in the paper around the courts? It's the
yeah.
in the local things. My brother calls that around the roads. Every single thing, and it's never somebody's rode off. Every domestics or car crashes or took a tractor of somebody, and then.
So you've been at the comedy in a long time. It's weird that we were talking with Shane Todd and various people on this program, and comedy now is booming. But you're kind of our generation before. What stage did you go? We could actually make a living at this, Alan. You and me, or did you always work while you were doing the comedy at the same time? Or
Well,
did you
we're both actors in inverted commas.
Yes.
So it's almost like bread and butter.
Yeah.
Doing other stuff and doing bits and pieces and
You've been in loads of stuff.
yeah, well, yeah, I've been in loads of stuff and I've been in not so much loads of stuff and Alan the same, and then we just work ad hoc on projects when we work together. But increasingly, or rather, over the years, that has been maybe one or two projects a year, which almost is your year then. Yeah. And so that's how. So we've always been able to survive by having a wee bit of separation in our togetherness, because it's just the two of us. It's different with yous. When there's just two, you got to be excited when you come back in to do something, and all the rest. But I think what happened to us was. I never did comedy when I started off, and there was a show one time in the Old Arts Theatre in Botanic as part of the Belfast Festival. Tim Lone and a few others had gathered up a gang of ones to do a comedy sketch show. Yeah. And Conleth Hill was in it, and he had to drop out because Conleth Tallinn is a star, and he had got something else. And McKee, who I had sort of known, come and knocked my door and says, "Will you come and fill in for Conleth Hill?" And he's dropped out of this. And I went, "No, I'm not doing that." And he goes, "Why?" And I goes, "Because I don't do comedy. I'm not a comedian. I can't do comedy." He goes, "You're funny. It's just..." And I went, "No." And he says, I'll call again." And sure enough, he called about 2 or 3 hours later and he says, "Come on." And I went, "All right." So I went down and Colin Murphy was in it, and me and him did a sketch where we were in bed together throwing kisses at each other and bouncing against walls and all this sort of nonsense. It was quite surreal. And with great crack. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, Tim Lone came over to me and says, "You see, you and McKee." He says, "You know that sketch you did there?" He says, "That was the funniest sketch." And I goes, "What?" And he goes, "Something about you two." And he says, we should do a show, just you two." And it was him then. We did a show. Our very first show was called Panto Was Arse, Buttons Hole, in the Old Museum Arts Centre. Way back. And it was a sketch show, basically just standing up Christmas, and that was our first ever show.
Well, and you've been doing loads of Christmas shows since, yeah.
We've done loads of Christmas shows since.
Yeah.
We love the Christmas shows.
And is it like the Hole in the Wall gang where I write all the jokes? Does McKee write all your jokes and then you just kind of write them down, or is it equal, or what way is it?
I don't know. He does the typing.
You see?
Yes, he does the typing.
He doesn't know how to type. He hasn't typed a script for
you don't want too many
30
chefs.
years.
No, somebody's got a law bin.
I do the walking up and down.
Yes, and the law bin and stuff.
Yeah.
And looking out the window.
Walking up and down. You haven't walked up and down in years.
Mentally.
Mentally walking.
That's like Lynch. The time we were in Rathlin Island, Lynch says, "I'm going for a big walk." and going for a big walk, explore the island. And then we went come, we were going, I don't know, walking with him, like, you know. And he's puffing. It's a fucking crow. And the next day, because it's whatever was wrong, it's some excuse. He got the bloody his Volkswagen Golf on the ferry. Nobody's allowed cars over there.
Right, yeah.
And the next thing, all we seen was him driving up his way and looking out. We haven't going for a walk in the car. So that's like you're walking up and down.
Walk up and down.
So are you equal? See, we have the advantage. The advantage of 3 is somebody can have a bad day and still
Keep
get on.
going, yeah.
And also we have instant editing. If I read a joke and those 2 of them hate it, it's not in. But
Yeah.
if 2 of us like it and one of us hates it, it's in.
Yeah.
You have rows about jokes and go.
Well, that's why we use directors when we're doing shows. That's why a director's crucial, because then they provide that veto.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we will get rows, and you know you will be convinced something's good, and you worked on it, and somebody else turns their nose up at it, and then you get affronted, and then you go. That creates a negative atmosphere, and then we have the 3-way vote. Whoever's directing us.
All right.
Even if sometimes even a stage manager, sometimes in the room we'll just go, right, listen, just everybody stop. Take a vote. Is this funny? And the hands all stayed out. That's it. You just have to go.
Don't do that with the Give Me Head piece.
No.
Right.
But yeah, so
do you 2 sit in a room write together, or do you write separately and then come together? And
we
go?
sit in a room and write together.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. We'll have notes and scratchy stuff and all the rest, but actually it's and sometimes that can be laborious and slow.
Yeah.
But it's sure footed.
It's a well-known fact, though, that writers hate writing.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
It is a
you
pain.
do anything to avoid. I mean, you just do anything to avoid it. Like,
We started a podcast, you avoid.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's that typical thing of the procrastination and cleaning, the gleaming room that the writer sits in. Oh, there's something out of place.
We'll discuss world politics.
Yeah.
The latest
That's
book.
right.
You know, we'll even discuss. You know, I'm a celebrity, even though we don't watch it.
No.
Just to avoid right.
We have an attic in David Hull's office. We've an attic.
And that's in Botanic, isn't it?
It's in Botanic Avenue. No, it's in University Street,
Yeah.
top of Botanic Avenue, and there's a nice window and you can look out over
Queens.
over roofs of Bell. No, it's a horrible view, but it says, but we still manage to look out and go. I should start writing soon, shouldn't I? When's the deadline for this script?
Oh no, I know. No one knows the
Yeah.
pain of it all.
I know.
Deadlines and pressure, and that was one of the things about the lyric was that the pressure was on, and we just couldn't do it
Yeah.
because we were working on that. We're in development hell, and we had deadlines for that.
Yeah.
Development hell's horrible.
Development hell is just
Yeah, this is writing a script for TV and hoping some executive who has no sense of humour will.
Yes,
pick
well,
it up.
hopefully they do have a sense of humour. Yes, but yeah, exactly. It's
But they normally don't.
it's like I always think of the Eskimos or the Inuit or whatever you call them fishing. You know, when the line's down and you go along every day and lift the line back up to see there's no fish in it.
We were once told by
emails.
an executive that we had too many jokes. There's just too many funny lines in this. Take it away, take the funny out.
Oh, it's too funny.
But it's a comedy show. But you're putting too many jokes in.
Aye, this is too many.
Go ahead and do it right.
I don't get that at all.
No, neither did we.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hard out business, and development is really a pain on the backside. Isn't
It is one of the tough parts of it, and then also, watching like Porridge and stuff like that, and watching how brilliantly written they are. The other thing, and I'm sure you find the same, you can't ape anything. You can be influenced by it and enjoy it, but you can't ape it. The minute you start trying to ape it, it all falls apart. You just have to do your own thing, whatever that is. People say, what's your style or whatever? I have no idea. No idea what it is. It's just we just try to write down the stuff. One person says this and the next person says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll
And
see
then
where it
Paddy
goes.
Jenkins gets all the laughs.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't mind.
No,
We're not
exactly,
doing that. We don't mind.
because you're giving him that line,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
got that voice.
Yes.
He gets all the laughs on us as well. Like.
But we know there are some actors who take it very seriously and get very upset if other actors get more laughs on them. But we're not.
No.
We're-
Of course, because you're creators. That's different.
I think it was Olivia told us that she used to work with Jimmy Young.
Oh.
And every time another actor got a laugh, the next night it would be Jimmy's line. It would be a rewrite, you know.
Oh, I've a slight rewrite there, darling. We just have a glance over it. And see you out there.
That class, Jimmy
That class. Well, that shows how long she's been about.
It was one of the reasons that Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis fell out, because Jerry Lewis was the comedian, but Dean was just more naturally funny. So he would just come off with things just off the top of his head. And then the next night, you know, Jerry Lewis would take the line. It was one of the things that really, because he was supposed to be the funny one.
Oh my God, I didn't really see
We had an episode of Give My Headpiece where, for whatever reason, he had 4 lines in it. And now some actors would go, "What's the point? You know, I'm not worth my part, and I need this." He was going, "Look, I'm delighted. 4 lines. It won't take me long to learn that."
Exactly.
You know? And in fact, one stage he went, "Can you not lose one of these? I could do 3 lines." You know? And you go,
It's best whatever we did the Fringe, and we talked about the terrible with Kerry there last week about, you know, just awful Fringe, and we had like 20 people in it. It was Edinburgh Fringe Festival, terrible.
terrible
And
show.
20
People walked out in the middle
and
of it.
there was this one of the female actresses who wasn't terribly good, and came up to Damon and said, "I've only got 3 lines," and he looked at her and went, "What are you doing with 3 lines? Give me 1 line."
That's the Clint Eastwood one. I didn't want any lines. As long as the camera was on him, doing all that stuff.
You were telling us earlier on, Conor, that you've reached a milestone in your life.
Yes.
Empty nest.
Empty nest.
Man, maturity, children, all gone.
I'd say
How many of you have?
I have 3 boys, 23, 21 and 19. And the
got rid of
youngest
them all?
one. Pardon?
You got rid of them all.
I got rid of them all. And the last one went off to university there at the end of September or whatever. And the empty nest, yeah. And the, you know, TV off and all. We're not going to watch TV anymore.
Why?
Because it's bad for you. It was okay when the children were here, because you don't want to give them an abnormal life, but no more TV. Not quite true, but there's things. You know, I think my wife was thinking about it ahead. I don't think about things ahead. It just comes and it's a shock. But she had been thinking about it, so she was wondering would we do any hobbies or anything like that.
Hobbies.
Yeah, I know. And
Do you have any hobbies?
I have a hobby.
What is
Tai Chi.
Really?
I do Tai Chi.
Tai Chi?
Yeah, and in February it'll be 2 years.
That's the slow movement thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really it's
It's a
like
martial art, but not fighting.
slow. And having said that, up until 2 weeks ago, I was the best fighter in the class.
Is that right?
Yes, but most of them have brittle bone disease and stuff like that. It's very attractive to very old people. But there's 2 Polish guys have arrived, and I'm no longer
All right.
No.
the best fighter.
Oh God.
I did Tai Chi. Yeah, it is slow down martial arts.
There's a big Tai Chi market in Donegal, is it?
It's not. Oh, well, I do it in Cookstown. All joking aside, it's such a good thing that the Chinese government have introduced it from nursery school,
Right.
kindergarten.
Right.
That they start learning it there, and then they have to do it every single day at school until they're 18.
God, that'd be boring.
It's just at the start of the day, yeah. But why did you see that?
Yeah, if you're a kid, like you're a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old, you're gonna go.
But why do they do that?
Yeah.
What have the Chinese realised?
Yeah.
It saves a fortune in the health care system. Because if anyone that's doing Tai Chi it stretches
So what does
on.
it do? What does it do for you?
Well, if an hour long class, your first half hour is I think it's the Jeet Kong. It's called stretching. So it's just basically like yoga stretching.
So it's yoga, sort of
Yeah,
stand up.
it's sort of, no, you go down as well on the floor on a mat, and then you spend the rest of it learning your first section of the short form, which is those intricate moves which involve every single item of your body, and it's all about going into positions and moving and rolling the ball and all this sort of stuff, and you learn a routine.
Right.
That's what you'll see in Japan, the ones all sitting out in the street, and they'll all come together in the morning and do that routine. They've all learned it, and they'll do it together.
Right.
Well, maybe when you're typing, instead of walking up and down, I'll do Tai Chi.
Well, that's a good idea.
Sitting down. Sitting down.
Yes, I think that would help. Yeah.
So that is one of my hobbies.
Right.
And I don't need any more.
You don't need it, but,
No.
but
I'm not-
Mrs. Grimes is keen on you doing what she
Well,
can.
what do you do in an empty nest? You know,
Painting.
paint. I don't start painting.
No.
No,
Is it painting the house? Or
No,
like
it's in
painting
painting canvases.
Do you know what I love doing? Really, really love doing? Nothing.
yeah.
That's one of my favourite hobbies, just doing nothing. You know,
TV.
just spending a day just doing nothing. Just pottering
Like
about
what?
and just, well, you make,
Like you normally do.
read a bit. Love doing nothing.
Like you do in the writing room.
I love that pottering around.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just. I agree 100%. I'm a fully paid up member of the Coffee Brigade.
Yeah.
Oh, the coffee shops and Botanic. Do you never go into the coffee shops?
Oh no, we always go to Drip on the Ulmer Road with the best,
yes.
the best coffee, the
Yeah.
best coffee,
Drip.
and the staff are absolutely lovely. By the way, I was in there recently; they're very, very friendly.
It's very,
Lovely
very,
staff.
very
Try
lovely
Drip.
coffee drip.
Try Drip coffee.
Well, I
Very
love coffee, and my son said that he's doing engineering, so he's all into these facts and stuff. He said that coffee is responsible for, I think someone said it's about 35% of the world's energy and work and all the
Right.
rest. If coffee was to take tomorrow morning be taken out of the world,
Yeah.
the world would stop. Would be no work done. All the great thinkers have thought up something after a cup of coffee late at night. Writers, musicians. Coffee is the underlying so much of our
Right.
energy and focus and all the rest.
Not tea.
Not tea, no.
No.
Coffee.
Coffee and cocaine.
Well,
Sorry, by the way, I'm not a cocaine taker, but
You want to make that clear?
yes, yeah.
yes. So there you go. That's an interesting fact
That's
about
what
coffee.
keeps you going then, coffee.
Yes, oh, I absolutely.
And are you
love-
still living in Doneckmore? or
Yes,
is-
I live in
And if
Doneckmore.
we went to Doneckmore, where's the best place to get a pint in Doneckmore?
Well, there's only one place, but
Well, that makes it easy then. There's only one place in Doneckmore.
there is only one bar in Doneckmore, but it's actually it's called McCausland's,
Right.
or Carey's, but it has been renamed and was rebranded recently. It's called the Brewer's House.
Right.
Is the restaurant, and the lower bar or whatever is the bar.
Right. And that's a good spot to go, is it?
Absolutely brilliant.
Right.
And it's a beautiful restaurant there as well, and we're very, very lucky in the village to have that. The restaurant's really, really excellent. Brewer's House, quite famous, yeah. And they have an Airbnbs there as well, and it's very beautiful, Doneckmore.
Right.
It's got
Well,
a
I've been in Doneckmore,
high cross,
yeah.
right in the middle of the village.
Yeah.
It's a very, very lovely
It's
place.
called the artist shop. There's a wee artist.
We Jim
shop.
McKee's.
Jim McKee, you know.
Jim McKee, yes.
is a
Because we
lovely
could
fellow.
go on a day trip to Doneckmore. Because we've all got like free bus passes. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
There's a bus stop right outside the
Well,
pub.
we could do
The
that.
bus
Get to
stops-
Doneckmore and do Tai Chi.
Get
From the high cross.
And then a pint in McCausland's.
that sounds like a plan.
Absolute
And if we
plan.
mention your name, do we get free pints or something?
No, absolutely not. But because that's like, McGurran's own their Errigal.
Yes.
I remember, do you know, ever come across Phil McGurran, the dad?
Bizarrely, I met Phil McGurran at my show, and I did a lyric show on Sunday night. Tim McGarry's up, ridiculous, and I was talking about my dad. Phil McGurran met me afterwards and said, "I'm named after my grandfather, who was also a GP and helped to deliver Phil McGurran, the owner of the Aracle."
Well-
And he said, "Yeah, he's named after my grandfather."
Well, that is
See,
bizarre.
that's not Northern Ireland. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's no,
Yeah,
no,
it is. Well, they're from Lurgan originally, but the old Phil, the dad, who's still with us, fortunately, is a great, great character. But I remember one time him explaining to me about the pints in the barrel and the profit,
Right on.
and how a free pint, a free, there's all these pints that are doing, covering the
Covering the
rates,
cost.
the
Yeah,
VAT,
yeah,
the
yeah.
whatever, and all the rest, and then it's only up here this last wee bit.
That's-
Is the profit. And to take one of those away, he always saw them up there, those free pints, not ones down there. And each one of them, so hence, that's why you'll never get a free pint off a bar owner.
Right. Okay. So, he promised me a free pint of ale. No, actually, he didn't. Tell a lie. I said you're named after my grandfather. I go into the Errigal, get free pints. He said, no, but sure, give us a shout next time you're in.
Oh, there's no free pints. I know.
Because it's that bit up there.
That's the profit bit.
Yeah.
That's the precious wee bit, and there's not much of it, and that's what's keeping it all going.
How long does it take to get from Donegal to here to Belfast? Did you come
1
up
hour.
today?
1 hour.
That's all right.
1 hour. That's comfortable. That's with the traffic. For 50 minutes saying at night or whatever. Down the M1, past all them Craigavons.
Past all the roundabouts.
All the Sittering and roundabouts are all there. And Craigavon, this, that and the other. And then on, further on, then Dungannon, then past Dungannon, and then you'll take a right down one of those wee country roads. You can go through Dungannon if you want to.
Right.
If that's what you want.
Do Donegal people hate Dungannon, do they?
No.
They have a rivalry with Cookstown?
No. Well, Dungannon is our nearest town, but yeah, it's all healthy rivalries everywhere. It's all good. No, I love the Dungannon ones.
You're doing a Christmas show, aren't you?
We're doing a Christmas show in the Errigal, 5th to the 22nd of December, so it's sort of mostly on the weekends. Grimes and McKee's Christmas in New Ireland, so it's sort of hung around, so that framework.
So you couldn't have bothered writing a new show, you just kind of took the best bits and
It is a new show, but
it is a new show.
We couldn't be bothered thinking of all new characters and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And when I say couldn't be bothered, it's kind of like we got lots of good characters within that show, and we thought, well, what about if we put them in that sort of future setting at Christmas?
All right.
What could happen and what could, what's going on? So, for example, we have 2 builders, country builders, who are up in the city on Black Eye Friday, and they're fighting, man. They'd fight their shadow. They'd fight each other or whatever, not a bar. If there was a fight happening, they'd just get involved in it for the crack. And they're just finished the new Belfast to Bangor monorail. Or, type thing, and they're going for their Black Eye Friday pints. So that you can get that wee sort of thing going. What could happen, or etc. So that would be the context or the sort of kick-off point for those for those characters. So it's not heavy duty set in the future.
Is it written and all? It's all done?
It's currently being written and deadlines.
Yes, familiar. How far before from now to when your first show?
Oh, it could be, well, we'll rehearse and we'll fight and we'll throw stuff out and we'll do votes and we'll...
How long do you rehearse for? How long will it take to rehearse a show for the show?
Probably 3 weeks.
Ha! Wasters. 3 weeks? We do it in a week.
We'll do it a week if it was finished. If the script was finished, if it was only the 2 of us, we'd do it in a week. Right. But we'd be talking about writing as well, like within that sort of context.
Fixing it as it goes
fixing
along.
Because it'll be very rough, the material.
Right.
And we'll have to do that and start really working on it and getting it pared down. We find that the shorter the show, the better.
What's your good length for you?
A good length is 50 minutes first half, 40 second half. That's a rocking show, 20-minute interval.
90 minutes.
It's just perfect. It's in the length of a football match, except skewed slightly. But yes, you can be longer in some of the bigger shows, but definitely.
You don't want to be sitting in a theatre for 3 hours, do you?
No, I don't.
No.
And you can, anytime my family go, they're always standing in the bar afterwards going, hey, it's not even 10 o'clock. Hell, that was lethal. And it's like my mum.
Sure, any good? No, but we got to the bar before 9:30. So
exactly. There's that wee thing. And my mum always said whenever I remembered, I think it could well have been History of Troubles in the Grand Opera House. I mean, her first time there seeing it. And the nerves afterwards, I went and spoke and I says, well, what do you think? And she goes, it was very cold. Your father had to go out to the car and get me that pashmari or whatever it was. I was founded the whole way through it. I goes, what do you think of the show? Oh, it was good. But it was very cold. Maybe it was where we were sitting. That's... yes, but that's a leveler maybe.
Yeah, my mother always thought I said, what do you think? It gave me a piece too much shouting. Why is always shouting?
Too much shouting.
Can you still go back to the law, Tim? Can't you? You can. For years after. Give Me Headpiece was on. You could go back to the law, couldn't you? You're just checking.
But that was her giving you that level.
Exactly. Just saying.
A mother's love.
A mother's love. Where would you be without it? Conor, thank you very, very much for being on the Give My Head podcast. That kind of flew. I just looked at the clock and went, bloody hell. It's nearly. Thank you so much. The very best of luck with the Errigal. I might pop in because I know the owner and he might set me up with a
free pint.
No, I'm hoping you'll give me free tickets. He'll give me a free pint. It'll be the perfect night out.
We'll certainly organise that.
We'll see you in Doneckmore.
I will see you.
Would you come to Doneckmore?
I would love to come to Doneckmore, yeah.
You would.
We day trip to Doneckmore.
We could get it there. We January we'll all turn 60 this year. We've all got our bus pass.
Yeah.
Well, look, we didn't. Me and my wife didn't go on holidays this summer between one thing and another, and except we decided one afternoon to go to Gorchin Glen Forest Park,
Right.
which is up in the hip of the Spurns. And we went up there and we got an ice cream and we went for a wee walk around the forest and drove around beautiful place, Plum Bridge and all that.
Yeah, no,
absolutely gorgeous. And drove down and went home, and that was our holidays. And it was one of the best holidays I've ever had. So you could get to see him.
Experience in Doneckmore.
Memorable,
A day out in Doneckmore. What more could a man ask for?
Exactly.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching. Subscribe below. I think we said earlier on we're going to be doing a question and answer session on Give My Head Peace. We're not going to have a guest, so if you want to submit your questions about Give My Head Peace, subscribe below. There's a link, isn't there, Dan? Down below. Thank you to our very kind and generous sponsors, Drip Cafe on the Omer Road. Give them a shout if you're ever up there, and don't forget your 20% off if you just say Give My Head some peace. And Give My Head Peace Live is on tour, and we will be back next week. I have no idea who the guest is next week, but it'll be somebody brilliant, I can guarantee you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. See you soon.